Thank you very much. Okay, good morning, everyone. Boker Tov. Thank you very much for being here this morning. Our shir this morning is, and our Divrei Chizuk is sponsored Le'iloi Nishmas Miriam Bas Avram Alav Shalom B'Shem Tov Ben Shlomo Zichrono Livracha. And we thank our sponsor for our learning this morning. And we'll begin as we do in these Chizuk Shiurim with Tehillim. And this is Parak Kuf Chav Aleph. If you would like to join together with me, we have our soldiers in mind, those that are kidnapped, those that are injured, and praying for their refuah shlema, and we say the following Kapitel Tehillim together. Shir lamalos esa einai le'arim me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai osei shamayim va'aretz al yitain lamot raglecha al yanum shomrecha hinei lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yeminecha, yom hashemesh lo yakeka, v'yareach balayla, Adonai yishmarcha, mikol ra yishmor es nafshecha, Adonai yishmor tzeischa uvoecha me'ata v'ad olam. What I'd like to look at this morning with you is the transition that we're making right now from the book of Bereshit to the book of Shmot. We begin Ve'ele Shmot, Be'ezrat Hashem, this coming Shabbos, and the first letter is Ve'ele, the Vav, and the Vav connects us from the Sefer of Bereshit and brings us into the book of Exodus, the book of Shmot. And what I'd like to highlight this morning is a lesson that we are to take with us as we're leaving the Sefer Bereshit. And the question is, what is a theme, and what is a message, and what is it that the Torah and Hashem is conveying to us in Sefer Bereshit? And I think one of the most important lessons that we take away from the book of Bereshit is Eretz Yisrael. We know that we have the story of Avraham, Lech Lecha, going to Israel. We have Yitzchak, who is told to spend his life in the land of Israel. We have Yaakov, who is forced to leave the land of Israel, but makes his way back to the land of Israel. We have the promises again and again of Hashem to the forefathers, to the Avos, teaching them, telling them, and telling them to convey to their children that this is the land. The land of Israel will always be the land of the Jewish people. So Eretz Yisrael, those two words, Eretz Yisrael, I would say are standout words and a standout message in the book of Bereshit. And as we come to the very end, and we just read it the other day, Parashat VAYECHI, we have a special emphasis, and I believe a very special emphasis, as we're closing the Sefer on Eretz Yisrael, about Eretz Yisrael. And I'd like to highlight a few of those ideas with you this morning, and again, to take with us as we're entering this coming week, and looking forward to this coming Shabbos as we begin Parashat Shmot and Sefer Shmot. What we do have at the very end, this very last parsha of VAYECHI, is something that we don't find anywhere else in the entire Torah, and this is highlighted by Rashi. And Rashi addresses the question that as we begin Parshat VAYECHI, we have what's called a parsha stuma, which means that we do not have any space in the Torah from the previous parsha as we move into the very last parsha. And Rashi's comment, the way that Rashi understands this, the medrash that he quotes, is that he says it refers to the eyes and the hearts of the Jewish people that are being closed as they are now entering the Galut. And the lashon of Rashi, the language of Rashi, Nistamu Einayim V'libam Shel Yisrael. As the Jewish people head into the exile, and here we have the Jewish people, the sons of Yaakov, the family of Yaakov, making their way down to Mitzrayim. There's a very happy and celebratory scene that we're going to read of Yaakov, as we just read, of Yaakov with the reunion with Yosef and all the sons that are now together again, all the brothers that are together again. But there's a very sad part of that story as well. And the fact is that they have left the land of Canaan. They've left the promised land. They are now in Egypt. And Rashi says that we begin the parsha in this unique way, that it's closed, because somehow outside the land of Israel, the Jew and the Jewish people, their hearts and their eyes are not opened in the same way. In terms of the joy, in terms of the celebration, in terms of what it means to be a Jew, that outside the land of Israel in the exile, that the Jew is somehow incomplete. Now, I just want to kind of bring us into next week's parsha, where Moshe is being raised in the court of Pharaoh, in Paro's home, and we know the story well, that he looks out to his brethren and he sees that they are suffering, that they're having a very, very difficult time, that they are being enslaved. And it says, Vayar b'sivlotam, and he sees the pain and he sees the suffering of his brethren, and he's going to respond to that. Rashi says the following. Rashi says, Natan einav v'libo liot meitzar alehem, that he took his eyes, he placed his eyes upon his brothers, v'libo, and his heart, liot meitzar alehem, that he felt the pain of his brethren. It's really interesting to me that those words, the einayim and libam, which we have in the beginning of Parshat VAYECHI, where going into exile, we have the closing of the eyes and of the heart of the Jewish people. It's Moshe, says Rashi, whose eyes and heart is opened to the Jewish people and to the suffering of the Jewish people. And maybe what Rashi is alluding to is that this is a key to what it means to overcome the exile. When our hearts are open, when our eyes are open to one another, when there is empathy, where there is rachamim, where there is mercy, where there is care and concern for one another, that is going to be our way out of the galut. That's going to be our way out of the exile and suffering and pain. And certainly that's a message for us today, and thinking about words of CHIZUK and ideas of CHIZUK as we're going through very, very difficult days here in Israel, that our eyes and hearts are open to one another, as Moshe's eyes and heart was open to the Jewish people. And with that, we're going to find our way through this very, very difficult time, through unity and through love and through caring for one another. So this is message number one from VAYECHI, also a little bit of Parshat Shemot as well, in terms of what it means to be in the exile, and the Jewish people are in galut. We know also, as the story comes to a close at the end of Parshat Bereshit, that Yaakov asks of his son Yosef not to be buried in Egypt. He says, Al na tikbereni b'Mitzrayim, please, please do not bury me in the land of Egypt. And Rashi points out that there are three things in particular that Yaakov is concerned about. Number one, and all of them are interesting from Rashi's perspective, what Yaakov is alluding to. He does not want to be buried in Egypt. Why not? He says there are going to be kinim, there are going to be lice. Eventually, and he sees in Ruach HaKodesh, he's able to see in prophecy in the future that there are going to be the plagues, the 10 plagues, one of them being kinim. And he is concerned, he is afraid that kinim are going to eat at his body if it lies in Mitzrayim, and therefore remove me from Egypt. He also, according to Rashi, is concerned with the following, that there are mechalot, that there are tunnels, that when a person passes away outside the land of Israel, that the body needs to go through tunnels to the land of Israel, and there you have Tchiyat HaMetim. And that's a painful experience for the body as it makes its way to the land of Israel. That's what Rashi says. And Yaakov is concerned with that as well, and therefore says, Al na tikbereni b'Mitzrayim, do not bury my body outside the land of Israel. I want to be buried in the land of Israel. I don't want to go through any pain when there is the resurrection, when there is Tchiyat HaMetim. And a third reason that Rashi says that Yaakov does not want to be buried outside the land of Israel, he is concerned that they're going to turn his burial site into a place of avodah zarah, that they're going to worship him, that they're going to worship that site, and he doesn't want to bring any more avodah zarah, any more idol worship to the land of Egypt. So we see something very interesting here in terms of what it means to be in the exile and what Yaakov is concerned about. Not only does he say, bring me to the land of Israel, but he puts it in the negative, al na tikbereni, do not bury me outside the land of Israel. And I think one of the ideas that's being expressed here is that outside the land of Israel is problematic. It's not the place for the Jew, and Yaakov is making a point of that. It's a place that there is makot. It's a place where there is a certain pain, even in messianic times, even at times in the time of Tchiyat HaMetim. It's a place of avodah zarah. It's a place where those that are living outside the land of Israel are worshiping other gods, and how difficult it is, how challenging it is for a Jew to be outside the land of Israel. I was thinking about that over the last few weeks, where you have all of the secular holidays on the calendar. And I know growing up, and I think it's probably true for many people here, then we think about the end of December, when we think about January 1st, right? I believe today is January 1st. So those are days when you're living in America or living outside the land of Israel. There's a lot going on that is of other religions and other celebrations that are not part of certainly not part of our way of life. I was just in a supermarket this morning and I saw that they were just putting out the dried fruit for Tu B'Shvat. They were setting it up this morning. So that's January 1st here in Israel, that we see that Tu B'Shvat is just, we're going to be celebrating Shvat next week, that's just around the corner. But those that are living outside the land have to contend with a different culture, with avodah zarah, with a different way of life. So this is what Yaakov is telling Yosef, Alna tikbereni b'Mitzrayim. Do not have me here, do not leave me here in Egypt after I pass away. I want to be in Israel, that it's difficult for a Jew in the exile, and how beautiful it is, and the bracha that we have being in the land of Israel. And here, to highlight that, there is a comment that's made by the Meshech Chachma, Reb Meir Simcha Dvinsk, in his Perush on the Torah. The Meshech Chachma, by the way, we find throughout his commentary that there are many comments that he makes in terms of his love for the land of Israel and his yearning for the land of Israel. And he writes the following, and I'll quote just one line from the Meshech Chachma in terms of why it was so important for Yaakov to be buried in the land of Israel. And he writes, V'im haya Yaakov, and if Yaakov, Avi kol shivtei Yisrael, who is the father of the tribes of Israel, Kavor Sham, if he was buried outside the land of Israel, Halo mityashim me'eretz Canaan. To some degree, if his burial place was outside and he was buried outside the land of Israel, the Jewish people as a whole may have given up on returning to the land of Israel. Halo mityashim me'eretz Canaan. They would give up on returning to the land of Canaan, to the land of Israel. Ve'hayu mishta'akim b'Mitzrayim. They would feel more entrenched, that they would feel more comfortable being outside the land of Israel. Umachshivim ota le'eretz moladatam, and they would begin to believe, they might think that this is the right place to be, that this is the land for the Jew as well. And therefore, in the positive sense, Yaakov is saying, make sure that my body, that after I pass away, that my burial place is in the land of Israel, that my people should know, that the Jewish people should know for all time, that is the land to desire and to be in and to live in. Okay. Two other points from the Parsha in terms of the importance of the land of Israel, and that is from Parshat VAYECHI, and that is what Yaakov asks of Yosef in terms of his burial place. But then he mentions something else. He also mentions that Rachel, in that discussion, and again, the commentaries, the Mefarshim kind of struggle to understand exactly why he brings this up, but Yaakov says that I buried Rachel on the way. As we know, Kever Rachel, not that far from the OU Center, not too far from where many of us are right now. Derech Beilechem, if you keep walking down Derech Beilechem, you'll make your way until Kever Rachel. So he says to Yosef that I buried Rachel on the way, and I want to be buried in Israel as well. The question is, why does he bring up this idea of Rachel's burial? And this is what Rashi says. It's a very well-known Rashi. Rashi writes the following, Aval dalecha. What was Yaakov telling Yosef? I want you to know the following, Sha'al pi hadibur, that I was told by God, Kivarti Hasham. God told me to bury Rachel in that place, not to bring her to Ma'arat HaMachpelah, not to bring her to Hebron. even though that's not that far away, by the way. Those that know the map or those that have taken a bus to Kever Rachel and to Hebron, you stay on the bus another half hour or so, 40 minutes, and you're in Hebron from Beit Lechem. So Yaakov says to Yosef, according to Rashi, that it was God, it was Hashem who told me to bury her right here. Shetehei le'ezra lebanah. She needs to be on derech Beit Lechem so that she is in aid, that she comes to the help of her children to generations afterwards. V'hayu avrim derech Sham, because when the Jewish people will be exiled, would eventually be exiled from the land of Israel, yotzeit Rachel al kivra, that Rachel will come, says Rashi, she'll emerge from her grave. I don't think that means physically, but she'll emerge from her grave, ubocha, and she'll begin to cry, umivakeshet alehem rachamim, and she will pray for mercy, that Hashem should have mercy on the Jewish people to return. So why is Rachel buried where she is buried? Rashi says Yaakov is telling Yosef because one day there's going to be another exile after the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, and the Jewish people will be leaving Yerushalayim. How will they be walking from Yerushalayim, out of Yerushalayim? That direction, on Derech Hebron, on Derech Beit Lechem, and they'll be passing that place of the burial of Rachel, and she's buried there because God knows in the future that she will come to the aid of the Jewish people. It will be the tears of Rachel, it'll be the prayers of Rachel, it'll be the petitioning of Rachel on behalf of her people. God will hear those prayers. God will see her tears, and eventually the Jewish people will come back to the land of Israel. So we see again at the parsha that is concluding Bereshit, this theme that's being highlighted again and again. Exile, the Jewish people outside the land of Israel, but eventually the Jewish people will return to the land of Israel. Another episode as we come to the end of Bereshit, and that is that beautiful scene, one of the most beautiful scenes in the Torah, and that is the first Jewish grandfather that is giving a blessing to his grandchildren. Rabbi Soloveitchik talks about that as the first Jewish grandfather that we have, that interaction of grandfather and grandchildren. It's Yaakov with Ephraim and Menashe. And it's quite a scene, and there's a lot of questions around exactly why Yaakov chooses to give the bracha to the younger child after all the difficulties, all the challenges of giving preference to one child over another. Here we have Yaakov giving preference to Ephraim. So Ephraim is the one to receive the bracha where he places his right hand on Ephraim's head, giving him the greater bracha. Rashi says, why is it, like what's happening here that Ephraim is receiving the greater bracha? And here we have once again that Yaakov is able to see Ruach HaKodesh. He's able to see into the future, and he sees that Ephraim is the one that should receive, who should merit the greater bracha. And this is what Rashi says. Why? What is it about Ephraim? What is it about the children or the grandchildren, the future of Ephraim, that he is to receive the greater bracha? And here are the words of Rashi, just a few words. Sha'atid Yoshua latzeit mimenu. Because who will come from Ephraim? Who are the descendants, or who is the descendant of Ephraim? That is Yoshua sheyanchil et haaretz. It's Yoshua who's going to bring the Jewish people into the land of Israel. And therefore, with that zechus, with that merit, he is the one to receive that special bracha, the one that will bring the Jewish people into the land of Israel. That is Yoshua, and therefore Ephraim receives the bracha. Again, we see this theme and this critical idea, this critical theme, as we come to the end, as we're leaving Sefer Bereshit, the importance of the land of Israel, of coming to the land of Israel, of settling the land of Israel. And let me conclude with the following idea, the following insight, and it really brings us back to where we started with the first idea that I shared in terms of the Parsha Stuma, in terms of the closed Parsha that we have in the beginning of VAYECHI, which is the concluding Parsha of Sefer Bereshit. And there's a beautiful comment, really just a gorgeous comment that is made by one of the great Hasidic Rebbes. His name was Rabbi Meir Yechiel Halevi Halstak. He was the Ostrovster Rebbe from Hungary, one of the great Talmidei Chachamim 150 years ago in Hungary. And in his Sefer, he also asked the question, why don't we have any space in the Torah, VAYECHI, that very last parsha? And he gives the following answer. He says that Parshat VAYECHI is the story of the Jewish people heading down to Mitzrayim, that they're going into Galut. And that Galut and being Mitzrayim is going to last for a very long time, as we know. It's actually going to last for the rest of the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu, as we come to the very end of the Torah, does not have the schus to bring the Jewish people into the land of Israel, into the land of Canaan. So from this parsha, from as VAYECHI begins, this is a beginning. This starts a Galut that's going to last till the end of the Torah, until we open up the first Sefer in Navi of Yoshua, where he's going to bring the Jewish people into Israel. The Rebbe says the following: there is no space in the Torah, the beginning of VAYECHI, because we need to feel attached to the land of Israel. We need to know that our lifeline is with the land of Israel. We cannot have any distance. We cannot have any gap. And even if we're outside the land of Israel, we need to feel that connection. We need to feel that yearning for the land of Israel. And therefore, in a Sefer Torah, there's no space as VAYECHI begins. There's no space where the Jewish people are going into Galut. For us to survive in the Galut, the only way we're going to survive is that attachment, to feel connected to the land of Israel. And what a schus it is for us today, for many of us, and I think everybody that's on this on our learning right now, that we are here in Israel, that we live here in Israel, that we're studying Torah this morning in Israel. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, that out of Zion, out of Yerushalayim, that we are studying Torah together. And I'll just close with the following. This past week, I attended a funeral of one of the soldiers that was killed. Unfortunately, as we all know, we are waking up every morning to the news of soldiers that are being killed on a regular basis. 2 soldiers, 3 soldiers, 5 soldiers. And, every so often, I think we need to just take a step back and to look at their faces and to read their names and to learn about them. And if we have the time to make a shiva call, if we have the time to attend a funeral, and I've not attended many, but this past week, it was on Wednesday, I attended the funeral of Yonatan Luber, Hashem Yinkom Damo. He was quite an awesome person, married, and his wife is expecting in just a couple of months.
Yeah, I was getting awesome.
At that funeral, I mean, every funeral is so moving and so painful and so heartbreaking. But his father, his mother, his wife spoke, and all of them spoke with such faith, with such emunah. And they spoke about the land of Israel, the love that they have for the land of Israel, the sacrifice for the land of Israel, and how awesome that is, and to see the faith of Am Yisrael during these days, and to see a father who is burying his son, and to see a mother who's burying his son, and to see a wife who's burying a husband, and to be able to stand before Am Yisrael and to say that we believe, and to say that we believe in the importance of the sacrifice and the importance of the land of Israel and the future that we're going to have here. And his father said that, I don't know if this child will be a boy, but if the child is a boy, I invite everyone, all of Am Yisrael, to the bris. I want everyone to be there. And I want us to celebrate, and I want us to continue to have smachot and to have celebration and joy, because that is what the land of Israel is all about. It's about our people being unified. It's about our people being together. It's about our people celebrating in the land of Israel. So that's a bracha that I share with you, and you can share with me that we should share only smachot, only happy occasions and better days ahead, Bezrat Hashem. We should, all of us should feel the great schus that we have in our day, in our time, to have the land of Israel, that our people is living in the land of Israel, that we're defending our land of Israel, and the great honor that we have, so many of us, to be living in Israel, and that we've made that choice, and that we've made that sacrifice as well to be here and to be a part of this great people, this great time in Jewish history. And I think this is one of the great messages, one of the inspiring messages that we are to take with us as we have concluded, just this past Shabbos, concluded the book of Bereshit. And we said, Chazak, Chazak, v'nitchazek. We should have a lot of CHIZUK as we move ahead in the days ahead. And as I said, we should share only smachot with one another. All right, so we'll conclude as we do these CHIZUK sessions with a tefillah together of Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, that all of us, all the brethren, all the brothers and sisters, the family of Israel, that we should all be protected, that Hashem should watch over us, and that we should see a great salvation and a geula shlema b'karav quickly in our day. We can join in together, and we'll conclude with the Achenu, the tefillah of Achenu. Achenu kol beis Yisrael hanesunim batzara uvashivya haomdin bein bayam uvein bayabasha hamakom yerachem aleihem v'yotziei mitzara lirvacha me'afela laora Mishibud ligula hashta bagala uvizman kariv v'ramar amen. Wish everyone a good week ahead. Bisorot tovot, and we should share only smachot with one another.